All right, we were expecting this at Lucknow. It's now come to be that sort of surface, especially when they play on these black soil surfaces. 1-2-6 is what RCB have got after winning the toss and batting first, and also having the inconvenience of a significant delay due to rain. The openers started well. They were 62 without loss at one stage, but barring Virat Kohli's 31, Faf du Plessis' 44, only one other batter getting to double figures. So we have questions, not just about how hard it was to bat, but whether that surface makes for good viewing, as we'd like to see in the IPL. On Visit Saudi presents ESPNcricinfo T20 Time Out. Tom Moody to get into a chat of all that and more. What are your first impressions when you watch 20 overs of cricket like that?
Disappointing. I think after a weekend of cricket that we've had, particularly Sunday's games, where the whole cricketing world was sort of glued to those games, and they were just thrilling games of high octane and high quality cricket. It's impossible, regardless of how good a player you are. You got one of the best players of all time in Virat Kohli, batting on a surface that he can't, display his, wonderful skill. You got Faf du Plessis, the form player of the tournament, struggling to get, find the boundary. It's not healthy. It's not great watch. It's going to be an arm wrestle. It will be a contest. But is it good cricket? No.
You'd argue that not every game could have flat surfaces, and there are too many things in favour of the batters, small boundaries and fast outfields and whatnot. But even from the cricketer's point of view, why is this not simply the odd game that we can enjoy differently?
Yeah, look, I'm all for a contest between bat and ball, but I much prefer it to be seen where at least the batsman can come into the game. The batsman can't come into the game there at all. You can't. It gets harder and harder and harder to hit, as we saw as the game unfolded into the 20th over. As soon as you get to that 10 over mark, it's nearly like the ball, refuses to leave the surface after it hits it. So I'm all for a contest. Swing early on. You don't really want seam movement in a T20 game, but swing early on by all means. A bit of turn by all means. But allow the batsman the ability to hit the ball to the boundary if it's offline, or if it's off the wrong length, if it's too short or too full. You can then put a half volley away for 4, or put a short ball away for 4. Hitting a short ball here, you can't hit it. It's like trying to hit a tennis ball.
That having been said, how do you look at 1-2-6? Do you sense it's a score we can't quite decide? We saw 135 successfully defended by the Titans in an afternoon game a few days ago, but is 1-2-6 even by all that below par?
I think it's fractionally below par, but again, it's going to be an arm wrestle. I think probably 140 is probably where they would feel a lot more comfortable, but I think what's evened up the situation is KL Rahul's injury. They're losing a premium batter at the top of the order. I know they can sub a player in, but you're not subbing in a like for like. You're not subbing in an international player of that calibre. So, I think it's going to be tight, but the power play overs are the key, because that is the easiest time to bat, when the ball's still hard and new and it does come onto the bat. But it's going to be very interesting to see, what RCB do with regards to their bowling and how they approach the power play. They've got 2 very good power play fast bowlers in Mohammad Siraj and Josh Hazlewood coming back into the IPL for the first time, but they need to introduce spin pretty quickly.
I guess now that you are faced with this kind of surface, you, as much as you may dislike it, you still have to figure out what's our best way to get to 140. And we saw Hardik Pandya in that Gujarat-Lucknow game get a 66 of 50. Is there a way that you almost tell your top batter you will minimize all risk till you sort of get into the last few overs? You've got to almost bat this like a one-day game, because it did look like both Virat and Faf, even though they were finding it hard, wanted to continue to try and find the boundary. Eventually it led to their downfall in the 9th and 17th over respectively. But is there another way to approach this?
No, I don't think there is. I think the way that Virat Kohli and Faf du Plessis, that's the template. We've seen, Hardik Pandya, as you mentioned, and KL Rahul had the same template. There's no other template, because that's my point, that the surface doesn't allow you to at least try to swing yourself off your feet if the ball's swinging or if it's spinning. you just cannot generate any power off a surface like that, which, you know, is disheartening.
That having been said, I guess we give full credit to Naveen Ulak. It's not like he's choosing these surfaces.
No.
3
no.
for 30, and that is 4 games on the trot now, where Naveen has hit the ground running and looked every part of an IPL high-quality international bowler that we haven't seen before in this tournament.
Yeah, look, he's ideally suited to these conditions because he's got great change of pace. He comes in from wide of the crease. He produces a good angle to the right-handers, so he's attacking the stumps always. He's got a number of different slower balls, so he's always keeping you guessing. And his on-pace delivery is quick enough just to keep you honest. So he's a good package.
Yeah, you keep saying that Lucknow are a side you like because their base is covered. We must again compliment the squad selection. They let go of Dushmantha Chamira last year. I was thinking that's a good bowler to let go of. Mark Wood was retained, and they picked up Naveen Ulak at the auction. You could almost say anticipating that he would be a handful. It again is credits to the think tank.
It is a credit to him, and I think you only have to look at Naveen's record in other T20 tournaments. He's always been pretty successful. I know the IPL's a step up, but whether they could read the tea leaves and think that they had a surface that was going to be like this, you know, I think that's a bit far-fetched. But I think what they bought is someone at the other end of the spectrum to Mark Wood. What they've got with Wood is someone that bowls 150 high pace, impact bowler in the middle, where Naveen is more your box of tricks. You know, I've got your slower balls, I've got this, I've got that, you know, I'm coming with everything for you, you know, if you're looking for that change, if circumstances or conditions suit.
It also is a nice story for the growing imprint of Afghanistan cricketers in the IPL, and you've for one been one of those that always like to pick not just Rashid Khan. Mujibur Rahman's enjoyed success. Now suddenly this year there's no Mujib, but Rashid and Noor are bowling together for Gujarat. Gurbaz seems to have found room at the top of the order. Naveen Ulak, that's 4 and counting. And is that just a result of the 10-team IPL or a result of the growing stature of some of these Afghanistan players in T20 cricket?
I think a combination of both. I think 10 teams helps both domestically and international players. There's no question of that. But I think what we're seeing with Afghanistan cricket is more and more of those players are playing more leagues around the world. So they're getting more exposure to T20 cricket and they're becoming more specialised in that space. So they are very, very good at this game. They can navigate their way around it with bat and ball, and they know how to do it. And they're learning from some great leaders as well. You know, someone like Muhammad Nabi, who's been around Afghanistan cricket for a long period of time as a senior player. He's played IPL, been around IPL a long time, played nearly every league on the planet. He, you know, has been, I'm sure, played an important role in passing on those important lessons that he's learned along the way.
Yeah, you can add Farooqi to that list, and it's a lot of good Afghanistan players we watched in this year's IPL. Now, Tom Moody makes the point of KL Rahul's injury. It didn't look pretty. From what you can see in the outset, that looks like what, a quad injury, which is not something that will heal certainly for the second half.
Not overnight, no. Well, unless it's not a tear, but it certainly looked like a quad injury, which is a major muscle, and even if it's what they call a grade 1 injury, which is a tear, that is normally 3 weeks. So you predict 3 weeks from here. If Lucknow make the finals, he might be available for then.
Is this the time of the tournament where you would not name an impact sub, just change the batting order, keep it going? And what if you need 16 of 10 and KL Rahul can come out swinging? Is this a remote possibility at all?
The way he looked, I think even that would be hard to do. But that's a possibility. You know, that I hadn't thought about that, but that's why you're sitting there and I'm sitting here. But that's a possibility. But the risk in that is that you are saying this is your last opportunity this year in the IPL, because by going out there and putting at risk, making it worse, you can write off the IPL, where I'm thinking they're probably hoping and praying with the scans that they'll have either tonight or tomorrow morning, they'll find exactly the extent of the injury and they'll do their very best to try to get him back.
All right, we'll wait and see if indeed the option of the impact sub presents their way or no. Otherwise, if their batters do the job, they could chase this 1-2-7. What kind of approach are we expecting though from the Super Giants. They obviously wanted to take the game deep against Gujarat. It came back to bite them. There's also the risk of going too hard and possibly keeping the opposition interested. How do you see them going about it, Tom?
I think the discussion will be, we need to break the back of this chase in the first 10 overs, and more importantly in the first 6 overs, we need to make sure while the conditions are at its best for at least trying to find boundaries, we try to take it on. So they'll be targeting 50 plus in that power play. It'll be interesting to see who they open with. You know, you mentioned off air possibly Huda, and maybe that's the opportunity that Huda needs to get his IPL season going, because he hasn't really got going yet. An opportunity at the top of the order, he would welcome that opportunity with 2 fielders outside the ring, you know, and he'd hopefully be able to turn his IPL season around.
Now, that is one candidate. We know Marcus Stoinis has opened in his best here in the Big Bash for the Melbourne Stars. On the other hand, we're just getting pictures. The corner of Ayush Badoni not just padded up, but helmet ready, getting a few knocks. It almost seems like he will just be sent into open. He seems like a boy with a lot of people who like him and rate him in that dugout. Badoni was sent in at 3 and played decent impact innings in that game against Punjab. That's the way they're going to go?
Or he's a young, smart kid and got in there quickly and padded up as quick as possible and sat himself down in the dugout and said, I'm ready. No, I think, it's a good point. I think, you know, they clearly rate this young player, and, you know, with batting him at 3, which raised a couple of eyebrows in the last game, they were obviously just pushing him up to number 1. And why not? He's, you know, he's obviously a bright, he's a bright talent.
Mayers is in red hot form. Badoni will accompany him. It'll be assumed that the impact sub will now be announced for, you think, KL Rahul. But what is RCB's best chance? Can they make a fight out of this? We saw Krunal Pandya take the new ball for Lucknow. They've got 2 wrist spinners now. But they've also got Josh Hazelwood, who've been very eager to see how he goes in the IPL. How quickly and how are they supposed to use their strike weapons, if I could call them that?
Well, I think you've got to stick with Siraj. He's been red hot in that power play. So I'd imagine they'll start with their 2 big quicks and let them do their work on that surface. You know, they're going to hit, you know, their uncomfortable areas at the top of the stumps with a little bit of movement. And then if that doesn't work within the first 2 or 3 overs, you go to your spin options, and they've got to go hard, you know, and I'd get Hasaranga in there as soon as possible. Depending on your left-hand, right-hand situation, Maxwell's always an option too, with the ball turning away from the lefty.
All right. Are we calling this a rather safe win for Lucknow?
I'm not saying it's safe. I'm going to say it's going to be a scrappy.
On the scrapper. So they'll do it in about 18, 19 overs, I guess, is what you mean?
Yeah, but it's not going to be easy though.
Okay. I've been asking for a super over every day, you know.
I know you have been.
I'm not going to ask for it today.
You know it's coming then.
I don't want it. No, I don't want it. It will not happen today. All right, Tom Moody, pick up your time and your thoughts. Thank you very much. At the end of this game, it's a big 2 points for RCB. If they manage to get a result out of this, that'll make for some conversation, and perhaps even a broader conversation of this surface at Lucknow, and you know, whether or not we want to see more cricket like this going forward in the IPL. Regardless, it's a job to do first for KL Rahul's side. Without KL Rahul, the ESPNcricinfo app will keep you posted on the latest injury news. They've also been dealt a second blow just prior to this game. We saw visuals of Jaydev Unadkat falling during training. It didn't look pretty there. His arm was in a sling. So we'll have a chat with Tom as well as Deeptas Gupta on the issues within the injury crisis for Lucknow. But we'll also see if they get the job done. We'll pick up the chat on Visit Saudi presents ESPNcricinfo T20 Time Out. So look forward to your company then.